Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Max, Chief Evangelist over here at Hapily, and today I am so excited to show you a brand new Quote Hapily feature that does something with HubSpot Quotes I quite literally thought was impossible, but I've seen other quoting solutions do. So now again, keep in mind, we build HubSpot Quotes and we use HubSpot Quote templates when you're building quotes with Quote Hapily. The big difference is we have a whole bunch of functionality that layers over the actual creation of those quotes. It allows us to do some really advanced things with HubSpot quoting. But now what we can do is even crazier than my wildest dreams. We can actually build quotes that allow customers, as they're looking at the quote, to add optional line items and finalize the quotes with new selections that they make themselves for additional products or services that you add as optional on the quote itself. So if you've ever worked with a company, recently had a drainage service provider come in and install a sump pump in my garage. And what they sent me was a quote where I was able to add additional services, such as like a underground pipe instead of one that went above ground. I was able to add a ditch at the front of the driveway that would catch a lot of the water instead of just having the sump pump in the back. And they gave me the option to add additional products and services when they sent me the quote, instead of having to send me multiple quotes. So you can now do that with HubSpot Quotes, still using HubSpot Quote templates. So let me show you how it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm on this brand new deal here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new quote. And when the quote builder loads, since I don't have any rules set up to automatically select this stuff, I'm just going to go ahead and choose one of my price books here. And then I'm going to choose my super happily quote template. So this is a quote template that has this very special module on it that allows us to do this sort of like magical optional line item stuff. Okay. Now, the experience for the rep building the quote is pretty similar to just building any other quote, except they're going to choose which products will be optional that the customer can then select and finalize on the quote themselves. So let me show you how easy it is. I'm going to come in here and select a product from my product library. Let's say I'm selling the large objects, and then I want to include small and medium objects as optional things that they can tack on. So I'm going to hit add, and then I have this new column here called optional, and you can configure where this sits. Maybe it sits in the left column, all the way to the right, under a certain one. You can move this around and customize the controls that your reps see as they're building the quotes out. But wherever they sit in the table here, all they have to do is just select optional next to the, or in that same row as the line item they want to make optional, and then just go and build the quote. So when you publish the quote, what's going to happen is we're going to go and render the quote as we normally would, right, with any other HubSpot quote. And then you're going to get a link to that quote that you then share with your customer, just as if it was any other HubSpot quote. Okay. When they actually go to that quote, I don't have a lot of this other stuff filled in on here. The important thing you got to look at is this table, right? So this is the line items table with a very special module we have in it. Again, you could take this module and put it in any HubSpot quote template that you already have. It would just replace the normal line item module that you're currently using, right? But watch this. This is what the customer sees when they receive this quote. And they have optional quote items that they can then go and check off. Now, notice the grand total currently is $50. And that's because I only have one product or service that was not optional. That was for $50. If I come down here now as the customer and select these additional line items, you'll see the grand total change in real time on the HubSpot quote. And they can personalize this quote however they want and choose the items that they want to add. So when they've made their selection for additional optional items on the quote, they then are met with this button that says finalize. When they hit finalize quote, they'll ask, are you sure you want to finalize the quote? They'll hit continue. They'll see this very quick animation here. What we're actually doing is we're going back into HubSpot and we're actually updating the HubSpot quote internally, right? And then what happens is when they're actually looking at this quote, they will see these objects added to the actual line items in the quote itself. And then things such as like your terms and conditions, e-signature, all that stuff will show up once the quote has been finalized. So they can then agree to terms and conditions, they can sign the quote, all that kind of stuff they would normally do after. But what's really neat is when I come back and look into HubSpot, we can see on the timeline of the deal that the optional line items were actually finalized by the customer, right? So we know that they finalized it. We'll even see on the right-hand side that the actual line items on the deal have been updated to what they actually asked for and finalized with the quote itself. And then we can go ahead and sell it to them. It's super cool. I never thought I'd see HubSpot quoting do something like this. I said it was impossible. The team proved me wrong yet again, but that's how you do optional line items in Quote Happily for HubSpot quoting. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below the video, shoot us a DM on LinkedIn, or email us at care@hapily.com and we can help you out. Thanks, everybody.